Hello, my name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD 89 and VA Claims Consultant, Leave No Vet Behind, and also I'm a United States Army veteran. Today I'm bringing you another video as it pertains to the VA disability compensation claims process. But before I get into today's video, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Also, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. And do not forget about the Veterans Roundtable this month, December 16th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you register, you can start, open registration starts December 8th, okay, at 8 a.m. I added some additional seats. And also, keep in mind, if you sign up, when you get an event, you have to share your video. If you don't share your video, I'm gonna remove you from the roundtable, okay? And we're gonna be talking about what I'm talking about in this video today, doing a little bit deeper dive in it, okay? So today's video, I'm gonna be talking about what is the current state of DBQs, disability benefit questionnaires. Been getting a lot of feedback from a lot of veterans informing me of things that are happening when they submit their DBQ to the VA and what are some of the responses they have been receiving from adjudicators, okay? So I have about 6 slides, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into it, and I'm gonna show these slides back to back to back and try to get through this, but it's a lot of information, so bear with me, okay? So slide number 1. Here in slide number 1, you can see it states, I have 6 different bullet comments, okay? And these are things that I've been told from other veterans. Like I said, they submitted DBQs that are actionable and sufficient for rating purposes, all right? But some of the responses. Number 1, your doctor is out of state. I have yet to find anything that states that your doctor has to be in state, okay? Now, a lot of adjudicators not putting pen to paper to this. Veterans are saying they're being told this over the phone, okay? And I'm pretty sure I'll be hard-pressed to find a rating decision where an adjudicator actually put that pen to paper and said that. Could be, but I've yet to see one. It was just something that a veteran had expressed to me, okay? Now, number 2, I don't feel comfortable using your DBQ. Again, that's something that I haven't seen put to paper, but again, keep in mind, these are things that veterans are telling me, okay? So I want to share it just in case if you're on the phone with an adjudicator one day and they say this, it's not going to be a surprise, okay? But as I go through these, the remaining slides will cover some of these items, okay? Number 3, your doctor completed the DBQ by telehealth and Tele-Mental. Now, I have seen this in a rating decision, and I was just like, wow. Because as of March 1st, 2021, the manual states that private doctors can complete DBQs by telehealth and Tele-Mental. Now, even before the VA removed the DBQs back in April 2020, they could. And veterans send them in, and sometimes they would fall through the cracks, and some would get used and some wouldn't, okay? But if a veteran did that before, March 1st, 2021 of this year, then the VA could have said, hey, we'll take it, but we're not gonna use it because it was done by telehealth or Tele-Mental. But as of March 1st, private doctors can, and I'm gonna share that reference with you later. But I've actually seen that in a rating decision where they told the vet that the private doctor basically could not complete it by telehealth or Tele-Mental. All right, number 4, your doctor didn't state how often they have treated you, okay? Now, I took some screenshots of a DBQ, but it didn't ask that question. But I've actually seen that in a rating decision. Then you have to keep in mind, if you go to a C&P exam, guess what? That doctor didn't write, that doctor is not gonna write how often they've seen you, because why? They're not your treating physician. Now, there may be a small chance that they could be if they're a third-party contractor and, they just happen, just so happen to be assigned your VA exam, you'd be assigned to do your VA exam. I haven't heard of that happening, but it still could be a possibility, but I haven't heard of it happening, okay? But for the most part, they're not your treating physician, okay? Your doctor didn't state they reviewed your claims folder. I've been challenging individuals to get a copy of their claims folder. You request it, you get the CD, you can check that box. You know what? They can't use that against me. All right? Now, the last one, not addressing why the DBQ was not taken into consideration in the narrative section of the rating decision. Now, normally it starts like second or third page, depending on how much evidence you have, they list it. But if they don't use your DBQ, the adjudicators are supposed to state why. A lot of times, here recently, what I've been seeing, they have not been stating why. Sometimes they do, but for the most part, they don't, okay? Then I go on to say, but noted in the favorable findings and listed in the evidence section of the rating decision. So what does that mean? Each rating decision is going to have an evidence section. They have to list all the evidence that they review. So they put it in the evidence section, but in the narrative, they don't address it or nothing. And then sometimes in the favorable findings, they'll just say, oh, DBQ from Dr. such and such shows a diagnosis of this. And that's it. But they'll either deny the benefit saying, oh, you didn't go to the C&P exam, but they don't state, well, you didn't have to go because your DBQ was actually more sufficient. We just didn't use it, and we're not going to tell you why. So it's no explanation or nothing. And then the veteran is like, what's going on here? You're not explaining things to me. Then they call the 800 number. And keep in mind, the 800 number is just a call center. Those are not adjudicators. Those are not rating officers. It's just a call center. So a lot of people call there trying to get all this information, and they're limited to the information they can give you. They can read the DBQ, and they can tell you what the DBQ said. They can read the rating decision and tell you what it said, but they're not going to know why, because one, they're not trained to do rating decisions, and they didn't do the rating decision, okay? And also, I want everybody to keep in mind, everybody's claim is different. I'm going to say that again. Everybody's claim is different. You have different adjudicators. They look at the regulations, the references, court cases, whatever, differently, okay? So your DBQ could have went through, not a problem. I've seen it. The DBQ was actually sufficient. The adjudicator did exactly what they were supposed to do. Don't request the exam, rated with the evidence of record, and that was it. Not every rating officer or adjudicator or decision review officer is the same. Okay? A lot of veterans think that there is. They're not. It's hundreds of them, okay? And they all do not rate the same. So keep that in mind, all right? So going to go ahead and get right into slide number 2. Slide number 2, attitude of the rating officer. I'm not going to read this, but I am going to leave it up. So on the first slide, I stated one of the things that veterans have been telling me, adjudicators are saying, I don't feel comfortable using your DBQ. Now, that's just somebody caught up in their personal feelings. This 38 CFR basically states that the adjudicator, the rating officer, adjudicator, decision review officer, whoever's completing that rating decision, are not to let their personal feelings come into play when they're adjudicating that claim, when they're completing that rating decision. This is the 38 CFR that covers that, all right? Now, you the veteran, you may never know it because they may not put pen to paper to it, okay? But if they say something or sometimes you have to read between the lines. Look at the information. And I always tell people when you get that rating decision, read through it. Set it to the side. Read through it again. Set it to the side, come back a day later and read it again and just see if you missed something in the wording, okay? Because if they blatantly put something in there and you say, oh, wait a minute. Well, I'm going to do a high-level review. You know this 38 CFR, okay? But you have to be able to prove that, all right? And not all the time you can. Sometimes, I've seen it, maybe 5% of the time, but a lot of times you're not, because it's not going to be put pen to paper, all right? Now, the next slide. This is the M21, attitude of when evaluating evidence. Now, what you see highlighted in red, in yellow, I did that on purpose. I did a keyword search in the M21. And when you do a keyword search, all the keywords in all the sections will be yellow, okay? So that's why that's in yellow. I did a training a few months back where I was showing veterans how to do keyword searches in the M21, all right? So we're going to cover what I have highlighted in red. When evaluating evidence and making decisions, maintain objectivity, never allow personal feelings to enter into the decision-making process. I'm going to read that again. Never allow personal feelings to enter into the decision-making process, and show fairness and courtesy at all times to claimants. So, on the last slide, I said, I talked about, they may not put pen to paper. Now, if you record a conversation, just say, hey, they call you, so, we're going to be, talking to you, informal conference, or if it's a rater talking about a claim, and you say, I'm going to record this just for my purposes, and you record it, and they start saying stuff and, get really kind of irate sideways with you on something, now you have it on tape, okay? And I always tell people, about some things that I would probably do differently if I had to go back through the claims process. Get a VA employee on the phone. First thing, what's your name? What's your job title? What location you work out of? What's the 3-digit number for that location? Are you the person that's going to be adjudicating my claim? Things like that. Then you say, hey, I'm recording this. You record it, and they start saying things and being rude, and it gets personal. Now you have it, all right? Heard veterans recording it, So I haven't come across anything that says that you can't record a conversation, all right? Okay, so moving on to the next slide. Here in the next slide is another M21 reference, and it talks about Tele-C&P and Tele-Mental health examination. So going back to the first slide where an adjudicator actually put pen to paper and said, hey, your private doctor can't do a DBQ by telehealth, telehealth or Tele-Mental health. This M21 changed the week of March 1st, 2021, okay, or a little bit after that, which states a private doctor can complete a DBQ by telehealth or Tele-Mental health, okay? In red, we're reviewing DBQs or medical examination reports prepared by private, non-VA providers via means of telehealth or Tele-Mental health. What are they saying? Obviously, they can do it, right? For the purposes of determining adequacy for rating purposes, exercise prudent judgment. Now, there is a M21 that's here in blue. Now, what I have highlighted in red in parentheses after that covers a little bit about that particular M21. Basically says, if the DBQ completed by a private doctor is deemed insufficient, okay? That's why I tell veterans, be educated on what makes a DBQ and or nexus statement sufficient for rating purposes. And that's something that you might want to do before you submit it to the VA, okay? Then it goes on to say, credibility and probative value associated with variables disclosed in the DBQ report to include the clinician's knowledge of the claimant's relevant history, okay? Could be something in the VA claims folder, your private medical progress notes from their private physician, length of time the clinician has treated the veteran. Now, this one I have a problem with because what the VA is saying here, we're going to hold your private doctor to a higher standard and say, hey, they should be treating you, but our C&P examiners don't have to have treated you. They don't have to be familiar with anything. Come in, they're going to just review some stuff and sign off on it. So again, it's up to the veteran, how often you want to get treated or how often you've been being treated. But this question is not asked on the DBQ, okay? Whether a third-party VA contracted examiner has to answer to a private doctor, nowhere do they ask this. Nowhere. So I'm surprised that they even put this in here. Okay, the last one. Extent to which medical records and or other records were reviewed and considered. Basically, the claims folder. Do you have a copy of it? Did your doctor see it? Now, do I think the doctor needs to look through the entire claims folder? It could be 2,000, 3,000 pages. I don't think a VA C&P examiner does, but it could be some pertinent stuff in there, all right? Especially if you, the veteran, haven't kept any paperwork, all right? That paperwork is going to be in there, okay? Now, moving on to the next slide. Now, this slide is a screenshot of a review PTSD DBQ. But just don't think about this DBQ because just the DBQ, the information that's on it. 95% of the DBQs that I review had these questions on there. We're going to go over the 3. Are you a VA healthcare provider? Yes or no? Okay. So if you go to a private doctor, they've already said that private doctors can complete these, especially by telehealth and Tele-Mental health. Is a veteran regularly seen as a patient in a clinic? Now, that word regularly, it means plural to me, multiple times. But where the waters become muddy, everybody multiple times could mean twice to somebody, 3 times, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times to somebody else. Okay, so going back to slide number 1, number 4, when they say that your doctor didn't state how often they have treated you. Well, guess what? You go to a VA C&P examiner or a VA third-party contractor examiner, they're not going to state how often they've seen you either because they probably never seen you before. It may be a small chance that could be your private primary care physician, could be, but a very small chance, okay? So for them, more than likely, that's going to be no. But for your doctor, it could be more than likely, could be yes, all right? Was the veteran examined in person? Again, private doctors do not have to examine a veteran in person anymore. Now, there are some DBQs that I would think that they would have to, and this is just my personal feeling. I'm going to give you some of those DBQs, okay? TBI, that I'll have to go back and check the regs in person, or a specialty provider. Joint DBQs. And the reason why I feel that those should be is because they have to measure your range of motion. It has to be done by a goniometer. So how do you do that by video? All right, unless you hold it up and the doctor tells you to move and then you show it to him on the video and he or she says, yep, 30 degrees or whatever. Okay, so those could be a little hard, okay? But some other ones, yeah, by video, mental, PTSD, review, whatever. Now, one DBQ, PTSD, if you're claiming it based on fear, and it's your first claim for PTSD, that has to be done at the VA. And there's another M21 reference that covers that. So if you're claiming PTSD based on fear, now, you still could have a DBQ completed just to show a current diagnosis of PTSD. But again, you got to be educated on what you're doing with your claim. All right? So the last slide. Here in the last slide, it talks about clinical findings, evidence review. Evidence review, no records were reviewed or records reviewed. The doctor reviewed any records, then they notate it there in that box. Now on slide number 1, number 5, I stated that some veterans are saying your doctor did state they review your claims folder. Right there, records reviewed. If you have a copy of your claims folder, doctor can state reviewed VA claims folder. And if they want to go a step further, they can say the evidence I reviewed in the claims folder, rating decision dated this date, progress notes dated this date. Whatever evidence that they see in there, they write in here that not only did I review the veterans claims folder, this is what I reviewed in there. These are some of the things I reviewed in there, okay? So I know that's a lot of information that I just threw at you. So just like that rating decision, when you get in the mail and you read it once, then you read it again, put it aside for a couple of days and go back and read it again, do the same thing with this video. Keep in mind, every claim is different. There are hundreds of adjudicators out there. Just because you went through and you had success with a DBQ from a private doctor does not mean the next person is going to have that success. I'm sharing these so if you encounter them or know a veteran that has encountered them, then you can start your research with some of the 38 CFRs and M21 references that I shared today. Okay? So with that being said, please like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Do not forget about the Veterans Roundtable this month, December 16th, 2021 at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. When you sign up and you register and you get into the roundtable, you must share your video. If you don't have your video, then I'm going to remove you, okay? So, hope to see you in the next roundtable. If not, make sure you catch me on my next YouTube live stream. Thank you.